Morning. Thank you for being here. If you are here live, I'm so glad to have you. And if you were watching at another time, we're just glad you're here. My name is Lily Sandberg. I am born and raised in Unity. As Sheila said, whether you caught it or not, I'm 24 and currently in my second year of Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute. My pronouns are she, her, and currently I am in my second year of the ministerial program. And so getting complete with classes before I begin a year of internship and figure out what my ministry may look like. What I know to be true for me is that my purpose at this time in this movement is to, number one, bring down the median age of Unity ministers, because we are a movement with life and we need to be able to show that every single person, no matter their age, has wisdom to share. I also know that my ministry will always feel like there is a seat at the table for you, and that the wisdom and goodness that you are is apparent to all of us, whether you can see it or not. That our job as ministers, our job as spiritual leaders, our job as people in this world is just to help remind each other that we are good and we do not have to do it alone. So that's some of what we're going to be talking about today. I think the beauty of Unity ministry is whatever the teacher or the leader, the preacher is working on, you're probably going to get that sermon because it's alive for them. So some of this stuff is alive for me that I'm still chewing on and working out, but I just wanted to bring you into this conversation with me. And so first and foremost, since we are at a distance physically in our own communities, even, I would love to just join us in prayer, knowing that that is how we can create a sacred space all together. So if you're comfortable, I invite you to close your outer eyes and open your inner eyes. Take as deep of a breath as you can in this moment, knowing that God is right here. God is in this space with each and every one of us. God, the infinite, the all good, the all knowing, is right here, present with us, moving in us, through us, and as us. If there is anything that you feel like you need to pause to be fully present, I invite you to know what that is and press pause, so that you can be fully here in this moment. Knowing that when we come out of this experience together, if it is meant for you to come back to, it will be there for you. We send some extra blessings to the state of Texas. Luckily, the temperatures are rising and the sun is shining, but folks there just need a little extra love and some hope today. And so we can send some of that love and hope right now in this moment. If you or anyone in your life is in any form of pain or grief or doubt, I invite you to know that that is okay, that that is part of this experience, and that all who you are, all that you are, all that you bring to the table is good and holy in this moment. In that knowing and in that power, we say amen. So for many people who are in Unity, you may know about silent unity. I always like to give a plug after a prayer, especially in the world that we live in right now. Silent unity is one of the foundational pieces of Unity. We believe in affirmative prayer, and so silent unity has been, from the beginning of Unity, a place that you can call 24/7 and have a prayer associate pray with you. And so if you're in a Unity community, you probably have a prayer chaplain. Those are also wonderful resources that if you realize you need to pray with someone, to be able to do that. And anywhere at any time, if you have a prayer you need to be held with someone else, Silent Unity is 1-816-969-2000. So I invite you to utilize that as well, because we do not have to do this alone. The other Unity foundation is Daily Word. And so this is a daily devotional that's put out by Unity Worldwide Ministries. And it always seems to be that when you have a talk title, the daily word for that day totally aligns. It's just absolutely perfect. And today was no exception. So the daily word for today, February 21st, 2021, is let go, let God. The affirmation is, I do what is mine to do and release the rest. It reads, over the years, I have accepted more and more responsibility as I have grown in maturity and experience. I have also grown in wisdom as I am able to discern what is mine to do. I have learned what to take on and what to leave for others. I have also learned not to exhaust myself by taking on too many commitments. Perhaps most important, I know when to use my will and determination to make things happen and when to let go. I recall times in my life when I felt frustrated that events did not unfold the way I had expected. I can now see how they unfolded perfectly, often in a better way than I could have even imagined. I now let go easily, trusting in that perfection. I do what is mine to do and release the rest. And that is a good reminder for us all, no matter where we are in this path and this life experience, that is an important reminder. So today we are going to jump into goodness and what happens when it isn't all love and light. And so this concept came to me actually many years ago when I was having a conversation with one of the congregants in my home church in Albuquerque. And we were in fellowship hall and we were talking about a recent school shooting. And I wish I could tell you which one, but there have been so many, which is a whole other ballgame. But we were talking about this concept that happened after many school shootings where politicians would send their thoughts and prayers, but there wouldn't be perceived action afterwards. And I was quite frustrated in that moment as a student myself, and knowing that there is a better way to make sure that we are safe. I was, kind of venting to this very wonderful congregant of mine who is a dear friend. And she said, well, we do that too. We as Unity people do that all the time. We just use different words for it. It's all in divine order. God's got it covered. I'm sending love and light. And what I've realized is those are true statements many times. Not in the way that we're utilizing them, but at the core of what they are, it is all in divine order. And God does have it. And we can absolutely send love and light. And when we use those terms to not take responsibility or feel the full impact or really connect with what is happening in the world, we are spiritually bypassing. And spiritual bypassing is a term that was coined by John Wellward, who was a psychologist in the early 1980s. And his definition of spiritual bypassing is spiritual bypassing describes a tendency to use spiritual explanations or spiritual principles to avoid facing unsolved emotional issues, psychological wounds, and unfinished developmental tasks. The reason that spiritual bypassing is so relevant is because it's effective for us, or so we think. That it's really easy to say, God's got it, so I'm going to sit here and not change a single thing about what I'm doing. That it is really easy to say, it's all in divine order, so I'm just going to continue on my straight and narrow, not looking for any of the opportunities that are coming my way because I'm too afraid to look outside of my horse blinders. And so I have a feeling that us as the Unity movement, but also people who outside of this movement who are tapping into these spiritual principles, are realizing that when we use spiritual bypassing, we are shortchanging the power of who we are. I know many Unity ministers that this is being brought up in current conversations, current classroom settings. This is a concept that even some of the Unity kids that I know are talking about in their rallies and retreats. That this is part of the work we get to do. And one of the things I see it, most prevalent in is when we start talking about the second Unity principle. So for those who have been in Unity a long time, you may know the second Unity principle. And for those of you who may be new or know me outside of this Unity context, I'm going to give it to you. And I invite you to just hear what this is. I'm pulling from Ellen Davenport's book, The Five Principles. If you're interested in unity and the foundations, it is a great guidebook. But from her language, unity principle number 2 says, human beings have a spark of divinity within them, the Christ spirit within. Their very essence is of God, and therefore they are also inherently good. That means we are also inherently good. That is one of the key factors, and I think one of the strongest points of unity as a belief system, because that is in direct opposition to this idea of inherent sin, which many people in other faith traditions have. When it gets out of whack, we say, oh, we're right because we believe you're good, and you're wrong because you don't think that. That is not how belief works. We do not yuck anyone else's yum. If that is a belief system that works for someone and they need that piece for their part of their growth, they get to do that. But we're talking about us right here. And that belief that we are inherently good, if that is something we fully believe, how do we show up in that when it seems like the world is sometimes such a hot mess? Davenport says later in this chapter, what if it were possible to rise above such human travails and live effortlessly with an attitude of love and compassion for yourself and others? What if you could hold on to thoughts and feelings so positive that only good could be drawn into your life? What if you could clear out the debris of the past and any fears of the future so thoroughly that spirit could shine from within you and light up the world? That is such an aspirational thing that I believe we can do. I also know for me, if I'm looking at myself yesterday, I did not show up always in an attitude of love and compassion for myself and others. I know this week, I was not only attracting good into my life because of my thoughts and feelings. I know that sometimes, though I try, I really want to hold on to the debris of the past and the fears of the future because it gives me something to do. Maybe that's just me, but I have a feeling that's some of your experience as well, because we're fully human in this world. Not to say that all of this is not possible. That is the beauty of spiritual growth. That is why we are here. To be so on the mark, to be so in alignment with God, to be so in alignment with the goodness of who we are, that it is effortless to live in an attitude of love and compassion. That it is a knee-jerk reaction to just have thoughts and feelings of good, and to be able to release anything that is not that. I believe that that is true, and I believe that there is some work to do. And just because I like to bring a little fun to church, because sometimes we take our spirituality very seriously, I invite you to join me in a game. There are 2 rules to this game. Number 1, no one else needs to know your answers, so I invite you to be as honest with yourself as you can in this moment. Number 2, this is meant to be fun. Please don't take it seriously. There is no right and wrong. I am going to give you 3 scenarios with 3 options of how you would show up. Your only objective is to think about your answer, give an honest answer, and remember that answer. Scenario number 1. You just finished a wonderful weekend of relaxing and rejuvenating, camping or glamping, whatever suits your style. You are at a lake surrounded by friends who you love, and you are fully at peace. All of a sudden, you hear a loud truck zooming by, music blaring, disturbing that peace. What do? A, you begin screaming at that truck. What the heck are you doing here? You are disturbing my peace. B, you angrily huff at that person, cross your arms, and proceed to be upset about it for a little while. Or C, you realize that your peace is not defined by other people and proceed on your way, blessing the loud truck on their way. A, B, or C, how would you show up in that moment? Know it for yourself. Hold on to it. Don't judge it if you can. I know it's so hard. And we're moving on to scenario number 2. You are in a grocery store parking lot. You were ready to go, list in hand, and got nearly everything you needed. You're feeling ready for the week, but can't seem to find your keys. You're looking everywhere, your bags, your pockets, your purse, your cart. You're thinking you may have to go back into the busy store and ask if you dropped your keys. When all of a sudden, a loud truck with music blaring comes zooming into the parking lot, proceeds to honk at you for your parking spot. What do? A, you yell and scream at them, asking why they're being such a piece of work when all you're trying to do is find your keys and get out of their way. B, you give them a dirty look, cross your arms, and continue looking for your keys and are upset about it for a little while. C, you continue looking for your keys calmly, wondering to yourself if that person was having a bad day and bless them on their way. A, B, or C? Once you have that answer, remember both answers for the first scenario and this one. And moving on to our final question. You have just had a really terrible day at work. One of the people you love dearly is on your very last nerve. A friend calls and asks you if you would be willing to take their volunteer spot for Saturday morning. You're not sure if you can handle taking on anything else, but before you know it, a yes is coming out of your mouth. You are also living in a global pandemic and kind of stressed out about what your community will do to protect each other during this moment. You are thinking about all of this as you are on a walk outside when all of a sudden, a truck drives by you, music blaring, snapping you out of your thoughts by the noise. What do? A, you begin screaming at that truck about how inconsiderate it is to be so loud when there are people thinking here. B, you give the truck a dirty look, cross your arms, and are upset about it for a little while. Or C, you continue walking and come back only to the thoughts that serve you, thanking the truck for the shift that that moment provided. A, B, or C? Congratulations, you've survived the game. If you remember all three of your answers, wonderful. If you don't, that's okay too. The thing that I wanted to illustrate with this game is there's only a few things in this world that are the common denominator. In these scenarios, there are two things that are the same throughout them: us and the truck. Everything else is an unknown in that situation. The outside circumstance and how we are feeling. Those were the real things that shifted. Can we control the truck? No. Can we control the driver in the truck? No. Can we control the loud radio station in the truck? No. The only thing we can control is us. That's the only thing in this world that truly is under our control, is how we show up and respond to this world. And that is some big and deep responsibility to take on. Because the beautiful thing is we have control of how we show up. And we have to realize that we are inherently good. And even if we know those things, the world may still seem like a very broken place at times. That even if I know I am doing my absolute best in each and every moment to show up as the goodness that I know I am, and I am working very hard to know that I am the only person I can control in this world, it may still seem like there is a lot of work to do. And it is really hard to continue doing those things of taking responsibility and knowing our goodness when it seems like around every corner, there is so much grief, and there is so much pain, and there is so much loss. I had a really good friend to me reach out this week about my talk topic. She lives in Texas. And she said, Lily, I'm going to be honest with you. My lights have been shut off for a few days and I do not feel love. There is no light and there is no love in this house right now. This is a Unity person who I know and love dearly, who is doing all of the right things. And in that moment, we just had to be real with each other. that even if we are doing all that we can, we are still operating in a world that has been created based on race consciousness, created from people who at their core are good and may have made many, many bonehead decisions that prioritized greed over people. That we are working within a world that has systems of oppression that we are working within. And yes, we have the power to change our world, but that starts with changing ourselves. And when each and every one of us begins to take on that responsibility, that is when the world has an opportunity to change. And so in this space, the question I always ask at the end of a talk is, well, that's fine and great, but what do I do with that? Give me some real things that I can do. And so I want to leave you with some real things that we can do. Number one, speak what is true for us. In that moment, in talking with my friend, she could say, this sucks. That there is no love and there was no light in her perceived truth in that moment. There is power in just saying, this is terrible and I do not know what to do. There is power in being able to say that and not jumping into and going into, well, it'll be fine and I have faith and all of this. That negates that someone was just sharing with you that piece of their truth. How many times have you said, wow, this is so hard, and someone just goes into problem solving for you? That is not what we are called to do, I believe. I believe that we get to say, that was not my best self. I'm sorry. I'm going to try better. One of the most effective things that I learned from my therapist was having a self-timed pity party. That get an egg timer and be able to say, I'm going to take 10 minutes and just be so upset at whatever happened. And when that goes off, I'm going to figure out how I can work on releasing that. It doesn't happen all at once. I'm not saying after that timer goes off, it'll all be solved. But being able to say, I am just going to have this moment in this experience because this feels true for me. Not bypassing it, but fully living in it. I invite you to get yourself an egg timer. It is a very spiritual practice for me. So speak the truth, whatever is true, and do not negate anyone else's truth. I also think that there is an act of being able to bring hope that love and light are possible. Hope is a radical concept. Having bold, unfettered, audacious hope that the world can be better is something only brave people do. People who are willing to live in the circumstance of this is how we've always done it and this is what the world is always going to look like, they may not be ready to make this step. But I believe many of us are. To say, the world looks like a really scary place right now, and I'm still going to have hope that it can be better. And sometimes it is too much to have hope in the whole wide world. Today, I have hope that there will be tulips blooming in the spring. And that is hope that I can back fully. Because sometimes it may feel like hoping that the world will change is just too big. Find a space that you can have big, bold, brave hope. One of my favorite gurus in this world was Mr. Rogers. And he said, look for the helpers. Look for the people who can hold the space of this sucks and God's got it for you. Those are people that will help you, who can hold both of those realities to be true. We aren't meant to do this thing alone. We are meant to do this together. Find your people. When you can't do it, let them hold you up. Don't feel like you need to have pride to keep going on your own. And the last thing, and unity teaches us, and sometimes we don't make enough space in our own lives to do it, is take time in the quiet. This is one of the things I am working on every day because I am not very good at just sitting in the quiet. but I invite you to do so. Be able to take time to connect with what is alive inside of you, that place of goodness, that unfettered Christ light. It does us good for the soul. And so right now, because we all are going to have the process to be able to speak truth and have bold hope and look for the helpers. Right now, I want to give us just a few moments to be in the quiet. So I invite you in your space to get comfortable, as comfortable as you can in your environment, as comfortable as you can in your body. Just take a moment. If it feels comfortable to close your eyes, do so. But we're just going to take 90 seconds to be in the quiet. I invite you, when you're ready, to just come back to this space and this time and this experience together. We cannot control the world, no matter how hard we try. But we can show up and be able to speak truth and have hope and look for our people and take time in the quiet. And I'd like to believe, from all that I know, all that I've been told, all that feels true in my heart, that's how the world changes. When each and every one of us says yes to that. And I want to leave you with a prayer from Nadia Boltz-Weber. She is a reverend from the Lutheran faith out of Denver. She is a tattooed radical thinker who, if you don't know who she is, I invite you to check out her work. But every Sunday, she releases Sunday prayers. And so today, she says, "Dear God, help me stop feeling like everything is a test for my compassion, a test for my fortitude, a test for my faith. Help me remember that I am not being graded, but that I am being guided. Guided to see that maybe I have a greater capacity to be okay when everything is horrible. It is not meant to be that way, but help me. Help us manage our compassion fatigue and the judgment we feel towards ourselves for having that. God, if you did not create our psyches to be able to withstand every tragedy and hardship happening to us right now, then nudge us to respond when it is our turn and have us be gentle with ourselves when it's not. Help us know when our work is done. Help us rest when we should. Help us reach out to serve when we can. Help us to remember to check in on our strong friends. Oh my God. Sorry, I just glitched for a sec. Divine glitch. Help us to be kinder in moments when Zoom glitches. Help us to do the next right thing. And Lord, help us not to forget ice cream when we go to the grocery store next. And so it is, amen. And so in this moment where life is happening, and so are we, the world is tough and beautiful, and so are you, tough and beautiful. And as you leave this space and this time, moving on to the next part of your day, I invite you to remember your goodness. For those in the Unity of Stockton community, bring that goodness to your annual meeting, because meetings are way more fun when we are in our space of goodness. Thank you for joining me this morning. You are so very loved.
Thank you so much, Lily. That was such a beautiful talk. I've always had faith in you, the utmost, and I still do. So we look forward to having you back again. And for those people who are over on Facebook Live Unity's page, well, they're on my page, I guess. And to those of you who are viewing later, we look forward to seeing you and blessings upon you.